Explained fans, and welcome back to another TV Explained video. Today we're going to be covering the secret behind Garmadon's mega weapon in Season 2 of Ninjago. In Season 2 of Ninjago, Garmadon used the four golden weapons to forge an ultimate mega weapon that could allow him the powers of creation. Now, in this video, we're going to be diving deep into the science of it and perhaps getting an idea of how the mega weapon works. I mean, we know how it does it, but let's think about what it can do to further scientific discovery in Ninjago itself. Let's begin. Garmadon's best mega weapon moves were first observed when the episode of season 2 Double Trouble aired. He was able to use the mega weapon to create duplicate ninja, alternate ninja, that were evil and followed his command. Now, let's first understand something. Matter cannot be created. It is a rule. There is a constant amount of matter and a constant amount of energy. The two can be interchanged, so there's a constant amount of matter and energy. It cannot be changed. So he must be getting the ninjas from somewhere. He can't just be making them out of thin air, right? Well, let's think about it. We know that the duplicate ninja, I'm gonna call them the Bizarro Ninja because that's what they're called. So, the Bizarro Ninja, they have evil in them. They aren't part of this. We know this because if they came in contact with their normal selves, they were destroyed. If one of them landed on a hit on the other, they were destroyed. Now, that little kid in Gene, kid with curly hair and glasses, um, he said that that was his theory, and that positive and negative energy was not correct science, but there was some truth to what he said, and they ended up beating the Bizarro Ninja. I think what he meant by positive energy and negative energy were matter and, drumroll please, antimatter. The thing is, matter and antimatter are two very, very similar things. The main difference that I want to convey is that matter and antimatter are the same, except antimatter particles have the opposite charge as their corresponding matter particles. So one proton and so there's a proton with a positive charge and an equal antiproton with a negative charge. Same with a smaller electron and a positron. Now, let me just say, when antimatter comes in contact with um, with their antimatter selves, it creates an explosion, like a serious explosion. 1 gram of antimatter that comes in contact with normal matter could decimate an entire city. Think of a Hiroshima bomb. That is 1 gram of antimatter and 1 gram of normal matter. Scientists have proven antimatter's existence with the very small positron. It's the same size as an electron, same mass, but opposite charge. It's positive. Now, this is emitted from beta decay, some radiation stuff. Bananas, when they decay, like radioactively decay, they emit positrons. Now, why hasn't haven't we blown up though? You may ask. They emit very small amounts. Nanograms of antimatter aren't isn't enough, and that's what we have, nanograms, like 20 or so nanograms, and that's not nearly enough to create a full-scale explosion. Like the most we can do is create unseeable sparks. Like they're too small for us. So anyway, let's dive into it. When the ninjas fought the Bizarro ninjas, let me just doodle that out for you guys. When they dueled, why didn't the Bizarro ninjas explode in the first place? That's a good question. Now let me explain. The way to isolate antimatter from matter is using a certain trap known as the Penning trap. What this does, it creates a magnetic field around the the antimatter, and that magnetic field protects, since they have opposite charges. They also have opposite magnetic charges. So they while one will be attracted to the magnetic field, the other will be repelled, and same with both the electrons and the positrons. It works for antiprotons, protons, electrons, and positrons. Fun fact, electrons are also known as negatrons. So, the penning trap is what was used to protect the evil ninja, the Bizarro ninja, from the normal matter. So, why didn't when the penning trap was broken by the normal ninja, why didn't, that's many grams of antimatter, why didn't it happen? Well, the penning trap stayed, it lingered on to protect the remaining particles, so only a small few nanograms leaked out, an okay amount of milligrams. So it was a small explosion of dust. So you could see the Bizarro ninjas explode into dust, and that dust was the remaining antimatter. Quite a thing. Now, that also brings up the point that if someone used a metal detector in the area where the Bizarro ninja were defeated, Ninjago is destroyed. But let's hope that doesn't happen. Let me doodle that out for you. But The probability of that would be someone going to the Darkly's boarding school, which would be, well, there would be about, let's say, 50 million. If Ninjago's a small place, we've seen all ends of it. There aren't that many kids, gotta say. There are about one kid per two grown-ups, and the population would be about 100, like 1.5 million. So there are about 500,000 kids, and therefore, out of that, only 40, 40 out of 500,000 is equal to, let me do some quick math here. It's equal to 2 over 25,000. Therefore, 1 out of 1 to 5, 1 out of 12,500. That's the probability of someone going to Darkly's boarding school for bad boys. And if I use a quick calculator, 1 divided by 1, it's 8 times 10 to the power of minus 5. That is 0.00000. Wait, no. Erase that. Yeah. And of course, you have to multiply by 100. So the probability of going to Darkly's boarding school is 0.0008%. Therefore, the probability of using a metal detector there is extremely low. I'm not even going to get into it, but it's about a there's about a 0.0000002% that someone's going to blow up Ninjago through that. So we don't have to worry about that, I guess. But it is worth noting just that small fact. So in case you want to request that someone uses a metal detector there, you're evil. But anyway, moving on. How did the penning trap get initiated? First of all, there would have to be a magnetic field generated. So, if we think about it, we can generate a magnetic field using electricity. Electric currents generate a magnetic field. So, on the mega weapon itself, which is like this thing, it's like a diamond. So, when it was used, there were electric sparks on it, so it must have been really strong sparks, like magical sparks. We're gonna go with magic on this one because I don't have an explanation for it. So it used those electric sparks to generate a magnetic field that attracted uh, those specific. Um, it uses those magical electric sparks to generate a magnetic field that pulls in antimatter. I'm gonna call it AM. There we go. So, we've established that. Now, in another episode, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, in that same season, the Mega Weapon, it was also destroyed in that episode, but it also used its power to time travel. And the only hypothetical way of traveling time is through hypothetical particles called tachyons. They're spelled like this. Tachyon. Now, They are hypothetical particles, never been observed, but they are believed to have a mass that is extremely light, therefore faster than the speed of light, and therefore also they can move backwards in time. Now, I'm just going to go out on a whim and say this is not possible, but let's pretend it is. So let's pretend tachyons are real. Now, if we observe this, I have no diagram for a tachyon because they're not real. Spoiler alert. But anyway, let's believe that they are real. So I'm going to call them this thing, like a compass rose thing without the southwest stuff. So I'll call that a tachyon. So this mega weapon can also create tachyons. So does that mean they can create antimatter and tachyons? Well, first up, I'm going to stop you right there because if you're thinking, can they create? You're dead wrong because you cannot create matter. It is grabbing them from somewhere. I'm just going to tell you that. Just believe that because I don't think you have the patience to look it up and think about it. So I'm going to go out on a whim here. It's roped in antimatter and tachyons. And let me just say, antiprotons and antineutrons have not been observed in reality. We just believe they exist because they're anti-electrons, positrons. So those are still hypothetical. And so are tachyons. So the mega weapon, therefore, in conclusion, is a tool that can be used to to bring in hypothetical particles for further study. Now that means so sadly, if Garmadon hadn't been evil, he would have made a great scientist because no one else can hold the four golden weapons. Um, yeah, so that's basically my conclusion. Garmadon should have been a scientist because wait, so let me just explain further that if truly Garmadon can wield the mega weapon and that can bring in antiprotons and antimatter, there's an equal amount of for every 1 billion antimatter particles, there's 1 billion and one normal matter particles. So that means there are exactly there are 16 realms. There are 16 realms like of antimatter, 16 duplicate antimatter realms. Except, let me go on a certain doc. I'll go to Google Docs to show this off. So I'm not using a script on this because I want to do this naturally instead of like unnaturally reading off a doc. But I had originally made a script for this video. I'm doing behind the scenes for this entire thing. I wrote a report on this, and my final concluding statement is that there are 32 realms, and 16 of them are antimatter. 16 are normal matter, 16 are antimatter. But in each of the 16 antimatter, uh, in 16 of the antimatter realms, each realm is missing 0.00000256% of the original realm, the normal matter realms. So if you have this as Ninjago, like a normal matter realm, the antimatter would be that, except would be the exact thing, except this tiny chunk over here is missing due to science. So I can conclude this video by saying there are double the amount of realms than just 16. But the ninja or anybody in the normal matter realms cannot go to those other realms unless they have a penning trap. That would be interesting. Well, anyway, see ya, TV Explained fans, and Ninjago fans, and TV culture and pop culture fans. I'll see you all in the next video.